Welcome inside the State Champs studios on the campus of Lawrence Technological University. Welcome back to Hockey Time. I'm Jonathan Kidd, along with Sean Belegian. Sean, how are you doing today?
Tremendous. It's March. Hey, this is the sprint of the season. Normally we're talking about the playoffs. We're not quite there yet, but they're looming, John. It's going to be exciting.
As always, State Champs Hockey Time is presented by our friends at the Alta Equipment Company. And speaking of the Alta Equipment Company, last week we streamed the Livonia Stevenson at Trenton game. You and Barbecue Mike, as I call him, did a great job with the play-by-play, and our production staff did a fantastic job producing that game. Just talk about that game for a few minutes.
Well, number one, anytime you go into that building, it's awesome. I say it all the time, and it's not just words. It's one of the best hockey communities, and Trenton High School is the community. The community is Trenton High School, so anytime you're in Kennedy, it was weird not having the fans there. The Trojan Pit, it was weird not having that, but what would you expect from Stevenson and Trojans? It really has turned into one of the best rivalries in the state in a short amount of time. And the thing that we talked about last week, holds true. Stevenson has found a way to beat them in the regular season, and Trenton in the past has found a way to beat them in the playoffs. And certainly Stevenson would love to flip that script if both those teams are lucky enough to get there. There are a lot of landmines in Division II this year, but tremendous hockey game, no doubt about it.
We'd like to thank the Trenton High School video production students who came out and observed our production of the broadcast. Sean, a few weeks ago, Zach Herrig over at Fox 17, this is 2 weeks in a row he gets a shout-out here on Hockey Time. He did a story on 4 female students who have spearheaded the streams for Forest Hills Northern Eastern hockey games. Just talk about how these schools and these productions have came out of the bat to stream these games, especially right now when there's limited amount of fans right now.
I love it, and a personal thank you from guys like me who, in years gone by, John, you and I have talked about it so often. I would love nothing more than to clone myself and send one Sean over to the west side to see what NE or Granville or Forest Hills Central are doing. Send one Sean, to the Saginaw Valley area. Send another Sean up north. We don't have that technology yet, but what we do have is we have the technology to allow Sean to sit at home, John to sit at home, whomever to sit at home and watch a game. I told you the first game of the year I watched Forest Hills NE. That first night there were no games down near our area, but they were playing, and I sat at home and watched it on Twitter. It was awesome to see, and there are so many different places doing that now, and the game at this level has grown so much in the past decade. I applaud the MHSAA for allowing people to do this, and I certainly applaud, the areas that are streaming these games, and some of the guys that are calling these games all over the great state of Michigan.
And also, too, it's amazing to see since the start of the hockey season that we're scrolling through the State Champs social media and just the high school hockey coverage from television stations across the state. It
makes me so happy because, again, not that long ago, you weren't seeing it. You weren't seeing it. There were a few guys that go-tos, if you will, but I think it starts with the coaches again. They've done a good job of putting up their stats on the websites, whether it be the hub or tweeting out the stats for their teams. Sometimes they do it on the team social media. Sometimes they do it on their own social media. Shout out to Coach Markham. Thank you. Coach Markham up in Houghton, always tweeting out what his team did and everything. So that's half the battle to me. And now, John, one of the things that I always enjoy doing is I always like looking at the various rankings out there. I do. Because the more the merrier. I'm serious. We've done our rankings maybe a little bit longer than other people have. Come on, bring it. It's more coverage for these guys, and I love to see a different perspective. And maybe there's a team that I overlooked in my long process of doing it. Because, John, you know this. I'm not joking. I spend hours in the afternoon poring over numbers and coming up with different scenarios and everything in order to rank the teams. And I see people out there putting different rankings up there. I love it. It's beautiful. The coverage has grown so much, and it deserves to grow because high school hockey is a great product. It really is.
We get our hockey coverage from Jason and Zach over at Fox 17. Jake Duran in the UP, Jake Vanderbrook in Northeast Michigan, and Harrison Beebe in Traverse City. And we asked these other TV markets across the state, hey, if you got a great game or a good story to tell, share with us and we'll talk about it here on Hockey Time.
Yeah, I remember a couple of years ago when Cooper Black was at Alpena. Alpena always did a great job of sending us some footage. I know, shout out to my buddy, well, our buddy, we can say, the legendary Jimmy Young up in the UP. He is probably crisscrossing the UP right now, getting ready to call another game. And, even closer, Ben Zalagi's done games around here for multiple schools. And to me, it's just so important to do that. And, again, you see it, whether it be the Kalamazoo area, Jackson, West Side, people are really doing a good job. Blue Water area is picking up now, so to me, that's beautiful. I want to hear as much as I can. You can't take everything in. Sometimes you're going to overlook a good story. Sometimes you're going to overlook perhaps a good team, but they're not going to stay a secret for long.
And also, too, I want to give a special shout-out to the newspapers as well. Obviously, Bill Kahn over at the Livingston Daily.
He's the best.
Tim Eric, he's taking those photos for Livingston Daily and the Oakland Press. Colin Gay over at Hometown Life. And, Ben also working at Hometown Life as well. It's just so great to see everyone working together to make this game so much better.
That's the funny thing. It doesn't seem to me like, in hockey, I've said this forever. Everybody's rowing in the same direction in the state. I think the media covering it are as well. I really do. I'm not trying to be PC. The media business is a very cutthroat business. Otherwise, trust me, I've been in it for a long time. Not these guys. I mean, people kind of help each other out. It was great. I love Bill Kahn. I'm a real big fan, and it was great to see him the first night out, and just I could see the smile through his mask. Yeah. He could see the smile through my mask, and we, sat there talking not only about, what we thought from Brighton and Stevenson that particular night, but, other teams in the area, and, hey, man, how was COVID to you? Is everything okay? Just checking on you, and we did talk some barbecue, but it's funny, John, because it's like, a lot of times if you need some help, you mentioned Tim Eric. He's another guy. Tim, wherever he is, and he's the type of guy who covers 77 games in one day. I don't know how he does it, but he does. And you know what? I always check his timeline for the updates and everything. Guys are always helping each other out or hitting each other up in their DMs and, hey, you got to check this player out or you got to check that team out. It's such a fun community. Blessed to be a very small part of it.
And also, too, we also have to shout out the Michigan High School Hockey Coach Association. It's the hub. The hub's been the place to go. Shout out to the coaches across the state to updating stats. They put our shows on the website. So it's just promoting this game more and more.
I'm not joking when I say this. This is a true story. John, you don't even know this yet. When you talked to me yesterday about what we were going to be talking about, I've been keeping track. I've talked to, I'm not joking, 17 coaches in the last 3 days. I mean, and these guys are so great. Like, thank you. I say it all the time, but I'm going to say it one more time. I send a text. They get back to me. I mean, and sometimes it's real simple things. Sometimes it's things that maybe, they don't necessarily want to talk about, but they're going to tell me, what they feel they need to tell me and everything. The guys have been so great. Whenever you ask, guys answer texts. Guys, there have been a couple times where it's just like, here, I'm going to give you an example. I didn't get a chance to see Coach Clemens the other night, right? We were out in Trenton. We're getting ready for the broadcast and everything. I just texted him and said, hey, I'm sorry I missed you. I'm a big fan of Coach Clemens. He's just such a class act. And he was like, yeah, I thought the same thing. It would have been great to say hello. It was just a simple text saying, hello, how's everything going? Things like that. So the guys are great, just class across the board.
We want to give a special shout out to all of our production staff here at State Champs, our camera guys going out to high school hockey games each and every week. I want to send a special shout out to this guy right here. He works very hard to promote the high school hockey game. Every time I go to a game, the first question that I get from parents and coaches, where's Sean Foligian? I think it's because they're going to complain about the rankings. I just think that's probably, it's either we're ranked too high, we're ranked too low, you don't even give us any love. But still, I just wanted to give you the shout out right here. I'm just the other guy. I'm just the other guy right here. But Sean is the man. And I just want to say thank you for everything you do for high school hockey.
You're embarrassing me.
I know, I am embarrassing you, but just letting you know, you do a great job for high school hockey. You do a lot of stuff across the state of Michigan. You come from your midday show to come here and talk high school hockey. You come out of a show and come talk high school hockey. I just wanted to say thank you.
I love it. No, and trust me, it goes both ways because mutual admiration. A lot of the things that happen here aren't happening without him. the work that he puts in after the shows to get this stuff out there. You know what, John, I think I can speak for you here. We both love the product.
Yes.
It's a great product. There's no other reason I'm doing it. I mean, I have some friends, of course, and you guys bust me for it. But, yeah, of course I have some friends. But you know what? I love the product.
Yes,
you love the product.
Love the product.
They're great people in the product. And I've said it once. I'll say it for the rest of my days. Hockey's the greatest sport on earth. If you don't agree, you're wrong. You know, to me, this is great. So these coaches, these kids are doing a great job all over the state.
One more shout out to our state champs president, Lou Batanti, because if it wasn't for him getting me on a microphone a few years ago to talk high school hockey, doing a test podcast, we wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah.
So, we want to send a special shout out to Lou as well.
Yeah, you know what's funny, John, when you think back to like the early days and all of that, Tom Markowski, shout out to Tom. Those guys, they were going, is there a big enough market to do that? That was the question, really. Is there a big enough market to do that? And the answer that we knew definitively is yes. And it didn't take them long to figure out how big the market was, because every time we put a video out, every time that we put a rankings out, the numbers went through the roof. So to see where it's come in the last 10 years is, gosh, it's awesome. It's so cool. That's a testament to you guys out there, so thank you as well.
All right, it's time now for our Coaches Corner, brought to you by our friends at the Michigan High School Hockey Coaches Association. I'm joined today by the head coach at Howell High School, Rocky Johnson. Rocky, welcome back to Hockey Time.
Hey, it's a great time, great year, and thank you for having me. I appreciate you having us on.
Before we talk about this year's team, let's talk about last year. You guys made it all the way to the Division I semifinals before, obviously, it got shut down because of COVID. Just talk about how special the team was last year.
Well, I mean, every year's special. I think every coach will tell you that. Last year, towards the end, we really started clicking. Things came together really nicely. Obviously, we had a great talent, some elite guys playing for us. One in the top 5, and it's just a great season. We got rolling into it. The kids started buying in, and we started working real hard and going. And unfortunately, we get to the semifinals, and the day before we leave for the game, we find out that we're not going to be able to play, and that the season's over. It was frustrating. It was difficult. It was real heartbreaking for me, for the boys. I know the boys had a tough time with it, but young people are resilient, and they'll have something to remember for the rest of their lives.
And just talk about, just how excited that the boys are back on the ice right now, because I know it's a short season, but they're playing right now.
We all started out in November thinking everything was going to be the same, and we got going, and in about 2 weeks we got shut down. And that was hard for these young men. It was hard for us staff, hard for the schools. And it's not just hockey, it's the whole winter season. And I think the most difficult part of all of it was the not knowing that every 2 weeks it would be something different. Every 2 weeks it would be something different. But boy, how exciting. These boys are just excited to get back. And to your point, everybody's schedule is cramped. You have teams playing 2 games in a day, 4 or 5 games cramped into one weekend. And it's really hard, but I'll tell you, the boys have been fantastic. I know our team has been great, although the season's been cramped. But, it's just exciting to be back on the ice and giving them an opportunity to compete.
Obviously, Howell plays in Livingston County along with, your rivals Heartland and Brighton. Just talk about the quality of hockey in Livingston County over the last decade.
It's an amazing area for hockey. The parents, the youth hockey, the rinks there have been fantastic in towards of supporting hockey at the young ages, and it's proof in the pudding. I mean, Brighton's been a perennial power in Division I for several years. Howell had an opportunity for a few years there, and Heartland's just, an amazing team and continue to do well and compete for the state championship every year. It's great to play against those guys. It's tough. To your point, it's a tough time to play, and it also the KLAA. If you look at not just Livingston County, but you expand it throughout the KLAA, there's some really great teams. I think you could argue are some of the best teams in the state of Michigan.
Next Monday on March 8th, we're going to have State Champs Game Time Live. We're going to broadcast the Howell versus Heartland hockey game, the Battle of M59. How cool is it for you guys to, that we're going to be able to come out and broadcast this game?
Well, I'll tell you, anytime you guys are involved in something, it's a great show. The way that you all promote high school hockey in Michigan is fantastic. It's something that the boys can look back on. It helps them. It promotes them. It gives them an opportunity to show their wares. And then when you talk about coming to our place, how exciting is that? M59, right? That's the Heartland guys or the Howell guys. and they choose to which school they go to, and it's a crazy time. I mean, it's a fun game. They all play, on the ponds together when they're growing up, and then youth hockey, and it's going to be a crazy show. It's fun, but it's always a battle. We're certainly happy to have it at our building as opposed to their building. It's a tough place to play, so hopefully we can use that to our advantage.
How exciting is it for you to go out and coach these boys each and every game? I know that me and Sean have talked about on our show how passionate you are of coaching these Howell boys. How fun is it to you to do this each and every day?
I got to be honest with you. This year's been a battle, I think, for everybody, and the kids and the coaches, because it's so cramped. There's a lot less coaching and a lot more playing. So maybe we don't get an opportunity to teach and develop, which is what I really, truly love to do. And you were worried about maybe X and O's than maybe you were normally. But boy, I just love these young men. I want to see them successful at the age of 25. And we try to use hockey as a vehicle to teach them life lessons. And this is a life lesson here. I mean, it's a cramped schedule. It's really a lot of tough times. I mean, we look at this weekend prior to coming up to Monday. We have Canton on Wednesday. We have Brighton on Friday, Salem the following morning early, and then Churchill in the evening on Saturday. And only one day between we go on and take one of the perennial powers in the state, Heartland, at our place. So, it's great. It's cramped, but I love these young men. They're wonderful. No different than any other coach.
And Rocky, thank you very much for taking your time to join us here on Coach's Corner, brought to you by our friends at the Michigan High School Hockey Coaches Association.
Well, we appreciate you having us, and go Highlanders.
If you're a high school athlete with the dream of playing college sports, Lawrence Technological University wants you to recruit yourself. LTU offers over 24 varsity sports for men and women, along with several dozen world-class undergraduate programs. Athletic and academic scholarships are available in all sports, including its newest additions, competitive cheer and dance, esports, women's hockey, and men's and women's track and field. Visit LTUathletics.com and recruit yourself. Lawrence Tech, where Blue Devils dare.
There's a feeling every player seeks of being in complete control. Responsive, instinctual, completely unrelenting. Every player chases this feeling, but the best hold on to it.
All right, it's time now for our Warrior Hockey Player of the Year update. So, Sean, that's a nice new hat that Warrior gave you.
This
there.
is going in the heavy rotation. I think anybody that knows me, John, I'm a hat guy. Heavy rotation.
And
Thanks
he's not bald. He is not bald.
Look, I'm not bald. See, everybody thinks I'm bald. I'm not. I just like hats, and this is a beauty. Thanks to Warrior for this. My goodness gracious, that's a beauty.
All right, our top 10 remains the same from last week. And remember, you can cast your vote at statechampsnetwork.com. We're going to talk about two players today, Dean Locust out of Calumet and Max Marquette out of UAD Jesuit.
Well, let's start with Dean Locust. He's got 40 points already, 16 goals, 24 assists at the time of taping this. I think the best compliment that I heard a coach pay him is one of the coaches, when you ask, for some quotes and everything, said, it always seems like there's a Locust or three on every Calumet team, and he might be the best. And that's saying a lot. When you think of that family and some of the good players that they've had, this is a guy that's doing tremendous work. One coach told me he's going to be watching Dean Locust play for many years because he thinks he's going to move on in his career and everything. So, best player in the UP, I think you could make that argument for sure. Best player in the state, well, we are making that argument that he definitely deserves to be in the mix.
And let's talk about Max Marquette over at UAD Jesuit. I saw him last Monday score that game winner against Riverview Gabriel Sharp. He also did it against Trenton. How special a player he is.
Well, you just nailed it, John. You stole some of my thunder. If you're looking for the bombastic numbers, they're not there right now. He's got 6 goals, 5 assists, and 11 points so far in this season as we tape. But when has he made some of those big goals? He's scored big goals. He's set up big goals. Again, here's that term again, best player in the state. John, I think you mentioned it show one. We've had a couple coaches tell us They think he's the best player in the state. Now, this is where we invite you to take part of this. You can be a part of it with voting and everything, and we're going to ask our committee by the time all is said and done, but the big goals really stick out to you for Max Marquette. Make no mistake about it. He's got a good team around him. UDJ, one of the best teams in the state, but Max Marquette making a name for himself on our list.
And remember, you can cast your vote at statechampsnetwork.com. The leading vote getter will never get removed from the list. We'll talk about 2 more players next week in our Warrior Hockey Player of the Year update. All right, let's preview this week in high school hockey on Wednesday night. The battle between Heartland and Trenton. They met each other in the last 2 Division II state finals. They were going to meet in the semis last year, but obviously it got postponed because of COVID. Heartland is your number 1 team in the state right now.
Yeah, I texted Coach Gadway yesterday and apologized. I gave him the curse, and you know he had some fun with it. But, hey, listen, getting it done up front, Larson, Patilla, both with 21 points. Piro's making a strong case for himself being the best goalie in the state. Keep an eye on him. We saw Trenton up close and personal. I like Colin Preston's game. Keep an eye on Luke Miklos in net. If that kid plays the way he did against Stevenson, look out. He was outstanding. To me, John, far and away the first star of the game.
Also on Wednesday night is the Catholic League Championship game between Detroit Catholic Central and Cranbrook. It's the 3rd time they have met this season.
Round 3, baby. I'm going to be there. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going with your boy, Barbecue Mike, as well. We're going to take this one in. Listen, John, we talked about this the first show. The MIHL is the best conference in the state. We know that. They're even better this year. And you're talking about 2 of the best in the MIHL getting together. Dynamite game. I can't wait to take this one in.
And speaking of another dynamic MIHL matchup, it's UAD Jesuit taking on Brother Rice. They're going to play on Wednesday and Friday this week.
Well, you know what? This one intrigues me as well because I'm going to tell anybody to listen, you're a maniac if you count out Brother Rice in Division II. I still think they're going to be there in the end when all is said and done. The Maroons and Rosa on their top line, something. And I want to say this. UAD, everybody's talking about Max Marquette. You know that. This is a darn good team. Take a look at the productivity coming from everywhere on the team. In particular, net, Nowak has been outstanding this year. He's been great in the pipes for the Cubbies, so keep an eye on UDJ as well.
On Wednesday night, East Grand Rapids taking on Muskegon Morning Shores, and I know you wanted to talk about Morning Shores over the last few weeks.
Well, you know what? There are a couple things going on here. Coach Newton has been outstanding, doing a great job with the Pioneers. 4 players in double digits. Mona Shores, with all the adversity that they've been through, you have to remember they lost a member of their team before the season even started. And you know what? There's a lot of Sailor pride right now in that entire community. Their top line, check this out. 36 goals and 73 points already. Is that any good? They're legitimate. Mona Shores is legitimate. I had some coaches go back to our very first show. Some guys said, keep an eye on the Sailors, and they weren't wrong. Sailors are legitimate and a great story. That community coming together, rallying around that hockey team.
Also on Wednesday night on the west side of the state, you got Rockford taking on Granville.
Yeah, you know what? I've said this before. Joel Brazil, one of my favorites. He always gets his teams going. There's another guy, when you see Joel Brazil, chances are he's got a smile on his face. I mean, just a class act. Rockford, Carson Court with 20 points for the Rams, leading the way. This is a team that has won some big games in the last few years, so keep an eye on this one.
On Friday night, Brighton at Howell. Rematch of the Division I regional final from last year.
You know, I had an opposing coach tell me, all right, Sunday, look out. Brighton looks to be Brighton.
Yeah.
And in his
Here
words, they said, you know what, they're coming into form. They're doing all the little things that are going to make them a bear to play against. That schedule gets them battle-tested. Kurt Kavisto, one of the best coaches in the state, no doubt about that. How about Howell? A big W last week against Livonia Stevenson. It's funny, our last show we said, I'm telling you, Rocky's going to get them going. They promptly went out and beat Livonia Stevenson. Everett Patella leading the way for the Highlanders. That's a darn good game.
On Friday night, also in the KLA, we're going to be talking about Heartland again because they're going to be taking on Novi. Novi is on a roll as well.
Hey, I'm going to tell you what. I know I said don't sleep on Novi. If you haven't figured it out yet, they are legitimate. Mark Vellucci's done a tremendous job, Coach Vellucci. Isaac Gibbs, heck of a player up front. And I'm telling you, folks, Austin Muirhead is a kid that don't put too much into what the numbers say. I've watched this kid with my own two eyes steal games for the Wildcats. He's a heck of a goalie, still only a junior. Look out for Novi. This is a darn good team.
All right, on Friday night, it's the Battle of Traverse City, Central versus West.
Well, Will Dawson leading the way for the Trojans. Coach Givens, obviously, he's one of those living legends. 17 points in 7 games. Grant Newhart, their goaltender, a sparkling 162 goals against. I'm going to say this about the Titans. They came this close. And when I say this close, they came this close to making our ranking. Tyler Esmond leading the way. This is going to be a darn good game. I'm going to keep an eye on what's going on up in Traverse City when the Trojans and the Titans get together.
All right, we have a Mid-Michigan, West Michigan battle between Midland and Mona Shores on Friday.
Yeah, Midland is another team that I've been keeping an eye on and certainly was in the conversation for making our rankings. Matthew Witt leading the way up front. John, our first show, you and I talked about it. Some people said, hey, both Midland and Dow are improved. And Midland right now, right there on the cusp of doing some good things. They can make a big name for themselves with a win there.
And on Friday night, we have part 2 between Liggett and Detroit Country Day. Just last week, it was a tie ball game.
Yeah, and you know what, Liggett, here I go again. This is 3 teams in a row we're talking about this. That close to making our rankings, I think they've shown that they can get the job done. I think Doug Wood has shown that he can get the job done. 34 points in 9 games. And, it's funny, an opposing coach, I'm not going to say who, told me last week that when they played them, they said, you've got to stop that guy. That's the best compliment you can give a player.
On Saturday afternoon, we have Hancock taking on Houghton in the UP.
Yeah, Hancock to me is such an interesting story because they've got so much talent up front. I think we mentioned Austin Solani, at least I know I did in one of the rankings, and they've been this close. They had 2 tight games with Calumet, and by one person's account, he felt that they outplayed Calumet over the weekend, but Calumet came away with the victory, and that's all that matters. Houghton isn't going anywhere. Again, you got one of the best goaltenders in the state up there. I've said this once, I've said it 100 times, you better bring your hard hat. Coach Markham is going to have his gremlins working, so that should be a dandy.
On Monday night, it's going to be another State Champs Game Time live broadcast. It's going to be the Battle of M59 between Heartland and Howell. Shout out again to our friends at the Alta Equipment Company for sponsoring this broadcast. Just talk about this battle in Livingston County.
Well, it's special because I think both of the programs have had so much success over the years, and you just go back to a year ago, both of them went to the Final Four. There's such an interesting dynamic out there because so many of these guys have grown up playing against each other and know each other and are somehow related one way, shape, or form with each other. And I think that's what makes that region, from a hockey standpoint, so exciting. Both teams led by coaches that are great guys, and I think they're great not only for their teams, but they're great for the game overall. Ricky Gadwa, is a guy that, for years they were this close. Now they're the measuring stick. They've won 2 in a row, and certainly Rocky's trying to get his team there. You've watched them grow leaps and bounds in the last couple of years. So, both of them are teams that maybe wanted to knock on that usual suspect door, but have become usual suspects in the process. I love going out there, some great rinks in that area. We're going to be at Oaks that particular night, but John, it's a pleasure to be doing it with our crew, with you, with Mike Ivesil. It's going to be a pleasure to be out there. And as you and I have been talking about, hopefully we all get a chance to do a few games in the playoff as well.
On Monday, March 8th, Heartland taking on Howell in the Battle of M59. State Champs Game Time Live. You can watch the game live on our YouTube page and on our Facebook page. And we might sprinkle in some videos here and there on Twitter as well.
Outstanding. We'll see you at the rink.
All right, so that's it for another edition of State Champs Hockey Time. Sean, in a few weeks, it's going to be the playoff.
Oh, it's awesome. John, you and I were just talking during the break. Every night this week, there's a good game. Go out there, support the local team. Drive a little bit to go see a game. I know.
Or even watch a game.
Yeah, you can watch a game. Heck yeah, do that. But I know the next couple of days for me, I'm going to see a couple of really good games, and I'm looking forward to it.
And remember, you can watch our show on our website at statechampsnetwork.com. You can also see it on our Facebook page, our YouTube, our Twitter page, and also you can download the free State Champs app. So that's it for another edition of State Champs Hockey Time. So Sean, what do you say?
See you at the rink.
State Champs Hockey Time is presented by Lawrence Technological University. LTU offers over 24 varsity sports for men and women, along with several dozen world-class undergraduate programs. Athletic and academic scholarships are available in all sports. Visit ltuathletics.com and recruit yourself. Also presented by Alta Equipment Company, Michigan's #1 construction equipment provider with over 40 brands. Get the right equipment for your project every time. Also brought to you by the Michigan High School Hockey Coaches Association. For all things Michigan High School hockey, go to the hub, MIHSHockeyHub.com. The Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. Detroit Medical Center Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine. Do you have a sports injury, or are you just looking to take your game to the next level? Go where the pros go. Visit dmc.org/gamechangers. The Detroit Athletic Club Foundation, Warrior Hockey, and the new Covert QRE 10 stick. Elite puck feel and quick release for players of all ages. The Warrior Covert QRE 10 stick. There's no feeling like it.